Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a great day today. For this week's video, we're gonna nerd out a bit and we're gonna try to answer the question, do thick guitars sustain better than thin ones? Let's check it out. All right, for today's sustain shootout, we've got 6 instruments lined up for you guys. We've got 3 on Team Chunk and 3 on Team Skinny Mini. So let's check out the instruments. All right, first up on Team Chunk is this Gibson Les Paul Traditional. This one is non-weight relieved, so it's just a solid hunk of wood. It's got the old 50s baseball bat neck. So yeah, weighs a ton and it feels like it. It lets you know it's got a lot of heft, so it'll be interesting to see how this baby sustains. Guitar number 2 on Team Chunk is this Epiphone Les Paul Standard. It weighs a lot less than the traditional, but it is the current sustain champion of all my guitars. Now that was in its stock form. Since then we've done the ultimate Epi build on it. If you've been hanging around the channel, you probably have seen this guitar played many times, but now it's got the Seymour Duncan P-rails in it. So we're just gonna leave them in straight humbucking mode. And yeah, we'll see if it still reigns supreme when it comes to sustain. And guitar number 3 for Team Chunk is this Ibanez RG. I wanted to include a guitar with a trem system on it just to see how that may or may not affect the sustain, so that'll be interesting. And this one just beat out the Strat for being slightly thicker. So that concludes the 3 guitars for team number 1. All right, so let's check out the guitars on team number 2, the Skinny Minis. So first up is this Ibanez S series, an incredibly skinny guitar, very, very thin, very lightweight. So it'll be interesting to see how resonant it is and if it sustains, anywhere in the ballpark of the Les Pauls. All right, guitar number 2 on Team Skinny is this Gibson Sg. So quite a bit thinner than a Les Paul and features the same hardware and same general setup. So it'll be interesting to see how it sustains versus the Les Paul. All right, and finally we've got this Prs Custom 24. This one is going to go up against the RG in terms of trem versus trem, and the RG is quite a bit thicker than the PRS, so it'll be interesting again to see, how each guitar sustains. All right, so before we start our sustain test, I want you guys to lock your answers in. Do you think the thick guitars are gonna sustain longer than the thin ones, and why? Now, there are a few things that will certainly kill sustain, and one of them is the strength of the magnets in the pickup on the string. So you don't want to set your pickups too high, otherwise the magnetic force will pull down on the string and stop it from ringing. So what we've done is we've set up all our pickups the same height. We're just going to use the bridge pickup for today's comparison because if we used all the positions, that would just take forever. So we're just going to use the bridge pickups. We've set up the heights exactly the same on each one of the guitars. And the pickups themselves are all medium or low output humbuckers. So we don't have any like giant monstrous output humbuckers on the test. Now that our pickup heights are all set, we're ready to go. The next thing to consider is how the energy from the string goes into the body and the neck, which is really what we're going to talk about with sustain. So yeah, once you pluck the string, it starts moving in the magnetic field, generating output, and then it vibrates in between your bridge and your nut. Okay, so the string will just go back and forth, and then the energy gets transferred into the body and the neck, as I mentioned. And I think we've all played on instruments where you strum a chord or something and the guitar body just vibrates, and it feels really great up against your body because you can feel the music essentially transferred from the instrument to your body, which is a great feeling. Unfortunately, it's not a great indicator of how the guitar will sound plugged in. So that's too bad. I wish guitars were just like watermelons. You could just knock on them and you'd be like, oh, this is a good one. It's going to sound amazing. But it certainly feels great. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, the sustain, the energy of the string into the guitar body, right? Now, certain bodies will dampen frequencies, and we've all probably played guitars like that too, where you strum it and it's just like dies off. And again, that's not really an indicator of how it will sound plugged in, but it doesn't feel as good, right? So anyway, certain woods and certain guitar styles, like the shape of the body, and today we'll look at the thickness of the body, will either dampen frequencies or accentuate frequencies or let them pass through longer, right? Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's start the test. All right, so let's start with Big Bertha here. What we're going to do is ring out each one of the 6 strings. So we're going to let it sustain as long as possible, and then I will show you guys on the computer each one of the 6 strings, guitar versus guitar, and we'll see if any interesting patterns emerge. All right, now that we've finished recording our guitars, let's look at the data and see if we can find some interesting patterns to look at. Now, the way I've organized this is the guitars are listed vertically here. You can see the names: Les Paul Traditional, SG, Ultimate Epiphone, Ibanez S, RG, and PRS. And they're, of course, labeled on the clips too, so you can easily see which guitar is which. And then this is the 6th string, the 5th string, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. So when you look at the data, that's what we're looking at. Now, the first comparison let's look at is the Les Paul Traditional, which is one of our thicker guitars, versus the SG, which is our thinner guitars. And you can see on the 6th string, the Les Paul Traditional out-sustained it. Same with the 5th, 4th, 3rd. On 2nd string, the SG must have got a good hit in because it sustained a little bit longer. And then on 1st string, the Les Paul Traditional out-sustained it again. So we can safely say for the first comparison, Team Chunk is out in the lead and out-sustaining the SG. Now let's look at our next pair. We've got the Ultimate Epiphone, of course, which is on our Team Thick, and the Ibanez S, which is very, very thin. So 6th string, that Ultimate Epiphone is out-sustaining. 5th, the Ibanez S actually sustains longer, and then back to the Ultimate Epi, the S, and then the Epi, and a virtual tie. So this was much closer than the first one. And yeah, when you look at these ones compared to the first ones, you can sort of see a nice little back and forth. So the Ibanez S did well, but I think overall, you know, again, the Ultimate Epi sustained a little bit longer over the stretch. Okay, and then finally, let's look at our examples with the trem system. So we've got the RG, which was our thicker one, and the PRS, which was the thinner one. Now the PRS out-sustained the RG on every single one except for 3rd string here, which was pretty much a tie. So it's hard to say. Maybe the PRS's more vintage style trem allowed it to sustain a little bit longer than the Floyd Rose on the RG. Or it could be, you know, types of wood used and stuff like that. So overall, I think we could say, yes, the thicker guitars definitely sustained longer, especially if you move the trem information from the data set. But even when you include it, I think overall, you know, the Les Pauls definitely sustained longer than the SG or the Ibanez S, although the S was much, much closer. I hope you guys enjoyed today's little experiment. I think it would be really cool if we could add some more data to the set. So if you guys happen to have a few guitars in your collection, one that's thick and one that's thin, try this experiment and drop the results in the comment section below. Just use your phone stopwatch and an open string. Just hit the open string, hit start on your stopwatch. Do the same for each string on each guitar, and post the results in the comment section below. You could just say, the thick one was longer or the thin one was longer, just so that we could have even more results to see if the concept or the results that we had today bears out long term. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. You can subscribe to the channel by clicking right here. If you want to head over to the tab store, you can find it above. And other than that, we'll put some more videos over here if you want to check them out. That's cool. Otherwise, we'll see you next week with a new video. Have a great week, you guys.